This is the Louie T Network.
In the lab room.
Exclusive.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Come on in. Thank you for joining me here in the lab room. 2014 schedule release overview. Just want to quickly run over some of the things that jumped out at me when looking at the schedule. And then, of course, we'll get into individual schedules for each and every single team in the National Football League. I just want to quickly come in here and talk to you about some things that I saw when glossing over all of these schedules for all 32 teams. And you know, there are a couple of things that I'd like to target and single out. One of them being five-star teams. And what it means to be a five-star team is it means you're allotted maximum 5 games on primetime on national television in the National Football League. So each team can be shown and showcased at most 5 times on primetime. And if you use up all 5 of those primetime slots, you, my friend, are a 5-star team. Now, in years past, there hasn't been this many 5-star teams, okay? There are a whopping 11 5-star teams this year in 2014. And of course, that number is going to change. That number is always subject to change. And it's going to change because some of those teams that have Sunday night games that are backloaded in weeks 13, 14, and 15, and 16, you know how that goes. Some games of importance rise to the top. Some teams that you thought were going to be better than they ended up getting pushed out of those primetime slots. And the teams that are playing better football that have meaningful games get thrust into the spotlight. So some teams that have 5 primetime games aren't going to see all 5 of those games. For some of those teams, though, they're locked in. Their games can't be moved, can't be touched. And for rating reasons, in some instances, doesn't matter how bad the team that they're playing is, they probably won't move that team anyway because they know they're going to move the needle one way or the other. But anyway, 11 5-star football teams means that the scheduling committee loaded up on good football teams. They didn't spend a lot of time giving teams like the Oakland Raiders or teams like the Houston Texans or teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars opportunities to showcase their skills on national television. You had to earn it this year. They went off of past experiences and good football teams. And so all they did was they took the Patriots, they took the Cowboys, they took the Eagles, they took the 49ers, they took the Broncos, they took the Bears, teams that are traditional powerhouses, and put them on prime time over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So if you have a team that is on the rise, but you're not quite there yet, you didn't get a shot. You get your Thursday night game, and they tell you to get the hell out of here. So 11 5-star football teams jumped out at me. Speaking of which, I feel like the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks got a raw deal. The selection committee absolutely smacked them in the face, and I think it's very disrespectful, frankly, because first of all, let's talk about the division as a whole. 1 5-star football team in the NFC West, arguably the best division in all of football. They only have 1 5-star football team. Now look, Arizona doesn't deserve to be a 5-star football team. St. Louis doesn't deserve to be a 5-star football team. I'll grant you that. But Seattle and San Francisco minimum should be 5-star football teams. And the 49ers, they're holding it down. They're a 5-star football team. But Seattle is not. How is that? How is it that the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks aren't a 5-star football team? Now, when it's all said and done, maybe they're a 5-star team because they got 4 primetime games right now. But they should have had 5 mandatory when this season started. When they came out with this schedule, they should have already had 5. They shouldn't have to bump somebody out of their slot to get their 5th and become a 5-star football team. They should have already been one. They earned the right to be one. And not only are they not a 5-star football team, not only did the committee slap them in the face and say, you're not worthy of being a 5-star football team quite yet. Not only did they do that, but the 4 primetime games that they do have, 3 of them are on the road. Damn, what do I got to do to get some respect around here? If I'm the Seattle Seahawks and I'm your fan base, I'm not happy at what has transpired over this offseason and looking at this schedule. It's fine though, because if you are the Super Bowl champions, it's not supposed to be easy. And you know the NFL wants parity. They don't want to see a team repeat, so they're going to make it hard on you. Now, I still feel like you got disrespected because you should have 5 primetime games, number one. And number two, hey, if you want to jerk me and you want to send me on the road, okay, fine. But at least give me 2. Give me half of the games that you're sending me on primetime for. Give me 2 of them. Give me half of the games at home. They couldn't even do that. They gave them 3 on the road, 1 at home. And the first one of the season is the only one that is at home for the Seattle Seahawks on primetime. So I feel like the Seattle Seahawks, they've got an axe to grind. They should feel like they've been wronged here, but it doesn't matter. Go out, take care of business. All of that other stuff is irrelevant. And to make matters worse, I'm going to say one more thing and then we'll move on from this topic. And that is, how is it that the NFC East, okay, which at one point last season was called the NFC Least, how is it that they have 3 out of the 4 teams in their division as 5-star football teams? Cowboys, Giants, Eagles all have 5 primetime games. Redskins are the only team in that division to not have 5, and guess what? They got 4. So that division is cleaning up. I think we can kind of attribute that to the East Coast bias, but I feel bad for the NFC West because they deserve more credit than they're being given right now, but doesn't matter. Again, you go out and take care of business, I guarantee you the NFC West will show up on your television set at the end of the season. So you move on, and let's talk about some teams that's got pretty clean schedules. You look at the Detroit Lions, Carolina Panthers, San Francisco 49ers, Oakland Raiders, and Kansas City Chiefs. To me, those 5 teams, looking at their schedule and looking at the rest of the league, you got to feel really good. If you're a member of one of those fan bases, you should feel really good about your team's schedule because those team schedules, and again, I'll name those teams: Oakland Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs, Detroit Lions, Carolina Panthers, San Francisco 49ers. You look at their schedule compared to the rest of the league, their schedules aren't that bad. And I'm not talking about who you're playing, when you're playing these teams, because again, let me explain this to you, and I'm only going to do it once, okay? So listen up very carefully, okay? You cannot, and I know I'm not talking to everybody here when I say this, I'm not talking to everybody because there are a lot of you out there that understand this concept. You don't go overboard when these schedules are released. But I know there are some of you out there, and you know who you are, okay, that when these schedules come out, you go nuts and you start counting wins and losses. You can't do it in April, okay? You don't know who's going to be good and who's not going to be good, okay? You could look like you have a tough stretch of football that sees you play the Broncos, the Colts, the Eagles, and the Cowboys, and then come to find out the Cowboys stink. Peyton Manning got injured in week 3, isn't going to play the rest of the season, and the Colts aren't as good as you thought they were going to be, and all of a sudden, your schedule isn't as tough as you thought it was, and some of those losses turn to wins, some of those wins turn to losses. You count the Jags as a win, they end up playing really good football, they beat you. You don't know what's going to happen, so just don't, okay? Save yourself the trouble and don't. But back to my original point. Looking at the schedule, the Detroit Lions, the Oakland Raiders, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Carolina Panthers, and the San Francisco 49ers all have very advantageous schedules. When looking at the rest of the league, their schedules are pretty clean. And I'm talking and referring to how many games they have on the road, how many games they have at home in a row. I call them anomalies. They don't have a lot of anomalies, a lot of things that stick out on their schedule. For the most part, their schedules are pretty clean. Not a lot of road games consecutively, not a stretch where you go 4 games on the road out of 5. And there are not a lot of those stretches for those football teams. They've got pretty clean schedules, to say the least. Want to talk about some rough schedules? There are some teams that got a raw deal that really, really pissed somebody off. And the top dog on the top of this list is the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones or Tony Romo or both had to have pissed someone off. Maybe it was someone's cousin or someone who knows someone that dated someone that is friends with a cousin of someone that's married to someone that's on the schedule committee. Or it could just be that they just don't like the Cowboys. Or it could just be that it was just happenstance. Whatever the case may be, the Cowboys have a brutal schedule when it comes to home and away. Now, early in the season, they're loving it. It's McDonald's. They are loving their schedule because it's front-loaded with home games. However, always know this. If the schedule makers give you an anomaly early on, you are going to pay for it somewhere down the line. And the Cowboys are no exception. The schedule makers gave them about six home games within the first 8, or 6 home games within the first 9. Something astronomical like that. And then the Cowboys proceed to play 5 road games in 6 weeks, including, check this out, I've never seen this before, 4 consecutive road games in a row to finish up the season. Are you kidding me? Wowzers. That is the definition of brutal. So if the Cowboys don't do their work early, they're going to be done early next season. So that's my schedule overview for the most part. If you want to see your team's breakdown and their schedule and what I think about their schedule, tune in to the 2014 schedule release 5-minute or less series that I'll be doing. Videos will be popping up in very rapid fashion. So keep your eyes peeled. Your team will be up here very shortly. I thank you for joining me. You know how this goes. If it happens, the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Thank you for joining me. Stay tuned. 2014 schedule release, 5-minute or less series coming straight at you. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the lab room.